Everybody, this week, Juneteenth is upon us. And as we continue to celebrate and think on Black liberation and Black freedom in the United States, we wanted to invite both Ben Vereen and Amethyst Davis, the stars of the new series, The Grey House on Amazon Prime, to come in and talk about their experience making that series, as well as what both Juneteenth and Black freedom means to them. So, this is a really cool conversation with one of the legends of stage and screen, and really an amazing rising star in the medium as well. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's really great to be able to talk to Ben and Amethyst about this series and about history and everything else in between. So I'm Jason Herbert, and this is A Reckoning. My name is Jason Herbert. I'm a Southerner who lives in the West. I'm a historian, an outdoorsman, and a movie buff. I like finding new answers to old questions, and this is A Reckoning. All right, guys, good morning. I am so excited to talk to you about this show that you've done. This has been years now in the making since you started production on the show. We saw its release, and now we're coming up on Juneteenth, and there's this big Emmy push on the show right now, which is exciting. I'm seeing it all over social media. I'm seeing Les and Lori posting on this stuff. I'm excited to talk to you about The Grey House and, really your experiences making the show, and kind of as we kind of think about, all of this time with American history right now. So much feels like it's just under attack right now, talking about American history, about Black history, about Black freedom, and really kind of getting into this series. So I'm kind of wondering, I guess maybe from the start, Ben, Amethyst, when you started becoming aware of the series and kind of first started getting those scripts, what were your first reactions really to the show itself, to what you were seeing on the page?
Well, when I first got the script, I was excited because I really hadn't been offered to play this type of character during the time period. So the fact that she was college educated and she's formerly enslaved, and it was just like an intriguing character to play during this time period. Basically, like playing a hero in the 1800s as a Black woman. I was like, oh, well, this is exciting.
Yeah, having done Roots, there was a bit of a desire to keep the story going. We are living in a time where there are people trying to erase our history, and I must commend the directors and the writers and the crew and the people that came together to make this a reality. I wanted to be a part of it because I think we have to continue the narrative about African American history. Not only African Americans, because this movie to me is not just about the Black on the ground. It's about the community coming together to fight against the oppression of one consciousness, and that is to enslave a people.
Amethyst, you just said something really important about Mary Jane, this idea that she's like this Black hero. And Ben, you're also talking about this idea of continuing on these stories. We can talk about Roots. We've talked about some of the other things that we've seen on film. Do you feel like maybe The Grey House was like this opportunity to kind of step away from some of these stereotypes as far as like of Black folk as, not having their agency or anything like that? I mean, how do you step into a character or into a person who is in the 1860s as an actor? How do you get inside the head there?
Well, I think reading helps. Reading helps, being able to watch videos. But then also for me, because some things about Mary Jane really paralleled still real life, about being underestimated, about being judged by the way that she looks, or people being able or thinking like she may not be as smart as she is, and being able to use that. Those are still things that I can parallel in today. And they did such a great job with the costuming and the sets and everything. So those things really helped to be able to drop into it when I could bring, unfortunately, the challenges that I've had in my life today, and be able to bring that to Mary Jane after reading about her.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's so interesting for me, being a trailblazer sort of thing, and doing roots, having to do roots, and not having the opportunity to watch these young people adapt into this posture of their ancestors.
Hmm.
For me, it's a continual voice of the ancestor. It's, their stories must be told. And then to hear Amethyst talk about how she embodies this, realizing that her life is really a reflection of everything that these women went through, except for the different time factor, emotional. She still goes through that today, but not as prevalent as it was then.
Ben, you made a mention a moment ago, this idea of like still fighting to tell these stories, right? And I think we're all watching like what's happening with like the national park system and stuff like that. And we're seeing like quite literally like whitewashing and black erasure on our national parks here in the United States, like the storylines being written out by the federal government. You know, is there a frustration on your, when we start to see this stuff, like, or is this like, Roots came out, so many years ago, and yet we're still having to fight these same fights to tell these black stories here, these stories of like black liberation and black freedom. Like, does that kind of underscore the importance of a series like The Gray House?
Of course it does. You know, start off by saying we're living in a time where they are trying to erase our history. My mother used to say, have a saying, "You don't know where you've been, you don't know where you're going." And if we allow them to, like, our history will be erased, and our children will not know where they come from or where they're going. And therefore places a blanket of control over their consciousness. You know, I think it's important, we as a people, only black people, but as a people, pull together and say, no, the buck stops here. Because we need to know. You need to know my ancestors' stories. I need to know your ancestors' stories. How we came together to meld the country called America today. Make America. The soil and the blood and the suffering the people went through. Those stories have to be told. They're the backs of which we're standing. On those bones. Take them away, we have no foundation.
you know, I feel like, as a historian, I specialize in indigenous history. I work with Native people on my, during my daily job, and I get frustrated because these still feel like the same stories I'm having to continually tell. I'm like having to fight to tell these stories over and over again.
Yeah.
Amethyst, you said this just a second ago. Do you feel like there's parallels now between, say, being a young black woman in Hollywood or in American society, and people constantly underestimating you because of age, because of race, because of stereotypes? Did you feel like there were commonalities between yourself and, say, Mary Jane?
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, it definitely helped me get the role. Like, when the producers found me, they were really excited because they said I was very authentic. And so I've grown up in South Carolina. That's where I'm from. And yes, like there's hardships. Yes, people underestimate me. And then at the same time, I still have to remember the privileges that I have as well, and the privileges that Mary Jane had, even though she was a black woman. And it's 1860, but she did have the privilege to be able to read and have this great memory and just to be a brilliant person. So talking about history, like, that's why you need to know your history while young people. Yes, we have to keep telling these stories, but there's always new people who didn't hear the stories, or they didn't hear this story. They may hear the story, oh, that black people couldn't read back in that day. But no, now you hear about Mary Jane and all the others. It wasn't just her that could read, that did go to college in the 1800s. And to give people hope, to see people working together, black people and white people, they've been working together since the 1800s. This is nothing new. So I think it helps give people hope to be like, yeah, times may be rough now, but look what our ancestors already went through. Look what we already survived. So I hope it gives people hope too. It's not like bah humbug. Oh, this is such a sad story. Yes, sad times, but at the end of the day, like I want people to have hope.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling this story to Morgan. A friend of mine has a shop, salon, and his name is James. Brilliant hairdresser. And this young man who's, African American, he's training, and his mother came in, and she recognized me, and and of course, James, my friend, he says, "Yeah, he's just in a TV show called The Gray House. It's about these women that help with the Underground Railroad, and da 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 da." And this black woman turns to him and says, "Oh, that's all we need is another slave story." And I've heard that. And my answer is yes, we're going to have another slave story until you get it. Until you get it. This will never happen to a people again. Why? Because we are aware. Our eyes are open. You can't do it again. That's what I love what Hunter said about the fact that all you hear about black people weren't allowed to read. Black people didn't do this. But here's this character, Mary Jane, who's well educated. We need more stories like that.
Well, this isn't just a slave story either, though, right, Ben? I mean, this is very much a woman's story.
Yes, it
and
is.
that's what we don't often hear. We often see this, these stories about the Civil War. It's brother versus brother. It's the battlefield or whatever. And we see maybe sometimes women as nurses, but here we're actually seeing a lot of the intellectual power of women in this series, right?
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, it is. It's
Isn't that
cool.
wonderful?
It's cool as hell.
Praise the woman. She is the seed of our creation. Tell her story. Without her, there would be no us.
Mm-hmm.
Hello? Tell her story. That's one of the reasons why I jumped at this. It was a woman's story. What the women did.
I was just gonna speak on the women, all the women, the Van Loos and everyone. Like, women are able to get things done in a different way than men can. Like, it's not always muscle and brute force. Like, so it makes it a really interesting story. Especially the women didn't have many rights. Even the white women didn't have many rights during this time, and that's why I guess it just stuck with me so much about how, like, the men are underestimating the women. So therefore you're able to do the sneak attack in plain sight because no one suspects you. No one's going to suspect those ladylike socialite ladies to be this brilliant, to pull this together, the Van Loos. And they're definitely not going to expect a young black woman to be able to pull the wool over their eyes. And now, like, black women are leading the charge in college education and everything, and they just snuck up, and all of a sudden they got all these degrees while nobody was looking. So it just relates so much to today.
Well, there are some really amazing women behind the scenes, behind the camera as well, making this series. Christy Coleman is a dear friend of mine. Talk about a black, an incredibly intelligent black. Christy is like one of my heroes. And then, Laurie McCreary is as EP helping to make this show possible. And, I got to talk to her a little bit and I'm just blown away by her,
Yes.
the work that she does.
Yes. She was the anchor.
What's that like working with Laurie?
Heaven. She makes things happen. She makes things. She's original, and she has such tenacity. She'll get it done.
Yeah.
Is that the experience, with an EP, you're on set and you're doing work, or getting ready to head out and film, are you dealing with the producers on a regular kind of basis? How does that work between actors and producers? Because I kind of want to get a sense of like, what's it like to make this series itself?
What do you think, Ben, in your experience? Because this is kind of like my first experience being such a lead character, so it could be unique.
They're very much involved, you know. In our case, the producers were writers as well. So they had some sort of say so what was going. So there's a lot of dialogue going back and forth. But some things I didn't particularly like, and they wanted, but we negotiated, and then we came to a conclusion and got out of the film. That's how it works.
Well, you're reading the scripts on this. You're preparing for the show. You're set in Virginia in the 1860s, and then you find out you're getting on a plane and you're going to Romania.
Yes.
Amethyst, what's that like? How do you find like okay, you're doing this Civil War film and you're nowhere near South Carolina or Tennessee or any of the old South, right? What's it like finding out you're going to go to Europe and then you're stepping off a plane and then you're transporting like, and I talked to Les about this a little bit about like creating, because he did Hatfields and McCoys in my native Kentucky, and he did that overseas as well, right? What's it like, as you're transforming Romania into Virginia? How was that process?
Well, for me, it was exciting. It was my first time in Europe, my first time not filming in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I'm already a Southern girl, so I'm going to bring the South with me wherever I go.
Thank you.
I didn't find it too challenging. Like I said, the way they built the sets from the ground up, we weren't using any like green screen, CGI, AI. It was real. The costumes were real, the hair and makeup, everybody was so hands-on. So it made it easier to be able to drop in when you're on the set. It looks like you're in an old church from, the 1800s. I think it was interesting working with the native, like the extras and the background actors. That was interesting. But I think everybody got a chance to learn something, like everybody.
Yeah, I found that what blew my mind. First of all, I don't know if you met the dialect coach from
Mm.
England.
Well, she met with me one time and then she told me I was good. So,
So
and
you
people
got
were
this.
knocking on my trailer. The other actors were knocking on my trailers and asking me, "Say this, Amethyst," and I'm like, "You got it, you got it."
Yes, I meet with her. She says to me, "So I'm going to be your acting coach. I'm going to teach you to speak Southern." I said, "Oh, y'all going to teach me how to talk?" She said, "Well, I guess we have to pay you." But what I found interesting for me was a lack of knowledge of the American slavery. A lot of the brothers and sisters on the set, from England as well, knew very little about the American slavery. Romania knew nothing about it. So they're sitting in these costumes and they couldn't relate to the gravitas of what they were interpreting
Mm-hmm.
or what to feel. I found that very interesting. But they got it. And when they got it, boy, they were in it. Because it sunk. I said, wow, these were our ancestors as well. One night, back my great great grandmama, that's what happened to my great great grandfather. He went out in the forest where they never came back. He went to America. Dang, was this all that happened to him? Dang, we came to Romania. We know nothing about this, but now we got a chance to tell his story, her story. What a great opportunity for them, and they were so grateful.
I was going to tell a quick funny story. Like I said, this is my first time in Europe, and a lot of the background actors, or even people when I spent time like in London and other parts of Europe, outside of, they would ask, so where are you from? And I would say, oh, I'm from America. And they're like, no, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from South Carolina in America. They're like, no, where are you from in Africa? And this conversation happened on set. And because most of the background actors were from like first generation Romanians or, second generation. And I said, oh, I was like, this is very interesting because this is actually a scene in the show where we explained this. I was like, I'm American. Like my ancestors are from America. My great great grandparents and their parents are from America. So I can't tell you exactly. And then the director comes like, Amethyst, we need you on set. And I was like, 1 second. He goes, so you're saying you're not from Africa? And I'm like, 1 second, Roland, I have to explain to him that I'm not saying that I'm not from Africa. And that's when I went and just explained it. I was like, yeah, because of this story that we're telling is why I can't tell you exactly which country I am from in Africa. And I'm from a lot of different countries. And I think they got it. I was like, you get that? And then Roland was like, this is a very important conversation y'all having, but we need her on set. So, and that is a conversation that I had a lot, like throughout my time in Europe. I had to learn how to just explain this and not like get upset because people don't know what they don't know, or they just didn't put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, when I talked to Roland about this, he was like there was constant communication on set, and I think Ben he even said, he's like, Ben was constantly talking to the cast about what's at stake here, right? And I think maybe I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is like a community building thing and so forth. But what I didn't know, Amethyst, is like how people just simply didn't know these stories, which I think Ben in a lot of ways kind of underscores the importance of like continuing to make series like that. And I'm kind of wondering, these conversations, how did Roland kind of talk to you guys about this? Because I talked to Roland, he's like, I'm a white dude from England. What am I doing trying to like tell this story about Black liberation?
I thought Roland was open and receptive. I think Roland came in and said, you got this. I know nothing about what I'm doing about your people. He said, so you tell your story. That was my experience with him.
Yeah, he was very open and collaborative. Before I came over, I watched a YouTube video of him shooting one of his previous films, and he was working with actors like that had never been actors before, like in a village jungle, and he like slept with them and ate with them a little bit before filming. So once I watched that about him before I even worked with him, it just made me feel like, oh, okay, this is the type of person that even if they are not from the culture of the story, they really want to get to the bottom and tell the truth. And then when I met him, I was like, yep, this is how he is. We was always here. Like, me and him, we was always here. We understood each other.
Well, Amethyst, can I ask you, like, you are early in your career right now, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're getting on a plane and you're heading to Romania and you step off and your cast is filled with Ben Vereen, right? And you're getting like, and you've got the director of The Killing Fields and The Mission, and you're like with half the stars in Hollywood. What's that like for you when you're just like, you were like, holy crap? Did you have this moment where you're like starstruck at times, or like, are you thinking about having to raise your game? Like, what's that like for you?
Maybe like the first time I met people, but everybody was so open. No one made it seem like it was like a hierarchy. Oh, I'm a veteran actor. Right. You a first timer. You need to stay in your place. Nobody acted like that. Like, it was very collaborative. I mean, I walked up the first day I saw Mr. Ben. I might have been a little shy, but I was like, hi, I'm Amethyst Davis. I'm excited to work for you. I know Mr. Ben from Roots, but, I also know him as being the Fresh Prince daddy that left him, like, I know that episode. So, and that's like legendary. So everybody was just open and nice. We all helped each other. Everybody gave compliments. Nobody was staring nobody down. We was a family. We was over there for 4 months. We had no choice but to get close.
Yeah, I can't imagine that does anything but like helps the whole experience, because Ben, you kind of talked about this, about the the word community kept coming up early on in this conversation when you're like, this is a thing that we have to make together. This is the story that we all have to know, together, as this series, kind of progressed, and I'm kind of wondering, were there moments when you're making this show where you're like, this is like history. This is more than just a scene. Were there particular moments that really kind of stuck out to either one of you?
A lot of them did for me. It's the one thing I regret is that I wasn't on the set every day. I watched the series and watching my fellow actors and they were going through, and I wish I could have been there. But the time I was there, it was very involved. Um, and I got to commend, Anna and the costumes, which made it easy for us to walk into that door and sit at that table and bring out what we felt inside. For me, it did. One that stands out. There's so many sitting in the bed with Amethyst, and Mary Jane, and they're saying, I'm an American. I'm an American. They don't want me over there. Listening to this story, the moments were all over the place. Little tadpole. It was shattering in moments for me.
Tadpole seems hard.
Oh, they were tough. They were tough. They were personal for me. I had a moment on stage, on the set. I say on stage because I'm a stage actor. When this young man comes out of the forest, Robert, and I embrace him. And all I say, I don't hear, I can't say, I got you. You're gonna be all right. The moment I grabbed him, my soul went back 400 years. I could feel that moment in time. It shook me. My daughter, matter of fact, was on the side. She said, Dad, I saw it. There were moments like that on the set that was scary. That was scary. I could feel what the runners and the rescuers felt at that moment in time. There are a lot of those.
And but this, what about you? Were there moments where you had these out of body experiences?
There were some. I did really try to not method act, like, because I wanted to be able to shake it off. But I think the scene that got me the most was one at Tadpole's funeral, just seeing that small little coffin, that little children's coffin, that really got to me. And we're saying spoilers, right? We're assuming that everybody
If
watched
people
it.
haven't seen this show by now,
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
But then, just also as a woman, there was a stillborn baby scene, and then that scene in the script, it had no lines. It was a sentence, and then the way we shot it, and just everything that went into it. Oh, that one got to me. And then the way the stillborn baby, this black baby that didn't make it, was discarded. Like, oh, hey, that's not good for nothing. You know what I'm saying? It was just, whoo, that scene got to me the most. Like, me and the actress Catherine that plays Tallulah. Yeah, afterwards we were like, she was balling, I was balling. We weren't really any good after that.
Ben, you had mentioned earlier, you were like, oh, is this another slavery show? Oh, we have to talk about slavery. We're like, yeah, we're going to keep talking about it. We're not going to not talk about this, right? But there's also this thing, right, where it's just like, when we talk about slavery, or we talk about, say, indigenous dispossession, or any number of these like traumatic things that happen in history, right? How do we balance this idea of, yeah, we're going to talk about this trauma, Amethyst, just like you're talking about with the stillborn child. We're talking about what happens with Tadpole, right? how do we balance this idea of oppression and trauma, but also of resilience? And like this, because we're coming up on Juneteenth, right? And this story of slavery can't always be one of like, look at what happened. Like, it's got also got to be this one of like response and overwhelm and overcoming and this process. So I'm wondering, how do you balance that as an actor and tell these stories in ways that state what happened, but also talk about what's happening internally and tell these stories of resilience?
Juneteenth is upon us, isn't it? We got to continue telling the story. Not only then, but now, the truth of what's going on. And we're going to be open and receptive to it so the dialogue continues. And in that, we find resilience to go through it and to pass it on. I still talk about the fact that my Jewish brothers and sisters have a thing called Seder. They sit around a table and they talk about their journey out of Egypt. They talk about the fact that how they have certain foods on the table to represent their journey. Juneteenth is here. My want is that we sit around a table with your family and talk about our ancestors. So their stories, so they feel us revert, because they're still with us. That's why the story got told. More stories will get told, because the ancestors are still with us. You cannot deny that. And I think by us talking about it, we'll understand how alike we are instead of disalike. Oh, there are those who lie and say, no, 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 no. I didn't know, but no, no. That didn't happen, but it did happen. We must honor it, I feel.
It's the piece on resilience with the Gray House. Yes, it's like the resilience of the African American people, but the Gray House, I feel it is more than just a slave story. You know, it really is about people coming together and how people work together. And right now, I feel like our country is being more and more torn apart. And I think there's a lot of people, not just the Black people, but anybody, when they watch this, they can see how to be an ally, how you can help, how you can come together. And it's not always about being on one side or being on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that our country, not just the Black people, our country overcame that, and the stuff we dealing with now, we can overcome that too. Like, it's not always going to be like this. I mean, yeah, probably always be something, because you go back to the Bible days, people was feuding and there was wars, but we overcame it, and that's why you have to watch history. I'm not gonna say I'm a history buff. I don't know a lot about history, but the more I get the opportunity to play these characters, because this is about my third, fourth. I'm a period piece girl. Hollywood loves to cast me in a period piece, and that's fine. I get to learn. But the more I learn about history, I realize it gives me hope, because it's like, oh, these people overcame this. This is way worse. You know, there's a way out. And if you don't have hope, then you just give up and you think, well, I'm not gonna like them.
Right.
And, you know, then we're torn apart. And this story is about coming together.
Yes.
I want to ask you about this. You know, Ben, we were just saying, you know, it's like Juneteenth's upon us, right? It's like 11 days away. We talk about what's the importance of this particular holiday. You know, we've only had this now as a federal holiday for a very short time, and there's been a lot of pushback about this from certain parts of the nation. And I'm like, this is such a special day. Can we talk about like what Juneteenth means, at least on a personal level to you guys? I want to speak for everybody here, but like, what does Juneteenth mean to you guys?
Now it needs to sell T-shirts. Come on, man. Got some great looking T-shirts. I've got me about 5 or 6 of them. Can't wait to sport them
I'm a
around.
double X.
Juneteenth is about the ancestors. It's about honoring our ancestors. I started telling you a story about this the Seder. That's what Juneteenth should be. A day when families come together and talk about the ancestors that allowed them to be sitting at this table now a free people, independent. That's what Juneteenth is to me. You know, in our story, Juneteenth happened, and in Virginia, it didn't happen until years later. Emancipation had been written, but the people weren't free till how many years later? We got to talk about these things. Our children need to know from whence they come, or they will not know where they are going. That's Juneteenth to me. And I hope somebody hears me out there. Let's come together as families, as churches. Let's honor our ancestors. Example, my Jewish brothers and sisters. I keep going back to that. As a nation, let's come together and praise the ancestors.
So I grew up in a small town in South Carolina. I did not grow up celebrating Juneteenth, nor did I learn about it in history, nor did I even know about it until I think my first Juneteenth celebration. Yeah, I was an adult living in Atlanta, and now I was talking to my mom, and I'm just so proud that my little town. My mom said there's like 3 different. She doesn't know which Juneteenth celebration she's gonna go to because the university having something, the community having something, and not just like I come from. It's like 6% Black in the counties that I'm from in South Carolina. So I'm just really proud that they are embracing Juneteenth and having these celebrations. And it's not just for the African Americans, it's to teach everybody about what happened, because I don't think a lot of people knew. Just because I didn't know doesn't mean everybody didn't know. But I would say that coming up, I did not know about it.
Yeah, it's about everyone coming together.
Mm-hmm.
Teach one another that this will never happen again to a people. All of us are in this together. We're in this together, Black and white, Indians, everybody.
Guys, I've got my PhD in history, right? I didn't learn about like Juneteenth until I was in graduate school. I come from a little town in Western Kentucky, and I grew up in Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, in Clarksville, Tennessee, like all over the South. Had no idea of it, right? And Ben, you get to this idea, this incredibly important point, which is like this Juneteenth becomes a celebration of Black liberation, but isn't it also a celebration of white liberation from this institution of slavery? Like we don't move past it without it.
Back to the Gray House. It
Yeah.
takes a community.
Yeah.
It takes a community.
Well, we keep talking about food, and we talk about like this idea of like this idea of this community. And I want to ask you this, maybe more of a fun question here. Amethyst, I know you're not a history buff, but I'm going to get you there one day. I'm gonna send you some of it. I don't know, Ben, have you read Annette Gordon Reed's stuff on Juneteenth?
No.
She wrote this amazing book called Hemings and Monticello, which was just phenomenal years ago. But kind of the question I'm getting to you now is this: is like if you could have dinner with anybody of this era, who would you invite to the table? Who do you want to sit and talk to from the 1860s? Are there people that you've encountered along the way, through your studies, through Ben, decades of work on this subject? Who do you want to sit and talk to now?
Frederick Douglass. Give us knowledge. Tell him what it was like being a slave and fighting for your freedom and then liberating yourself and educating yourself and leading Lincoln to put together the first African American Congress.
That was going to be my answer.
It could be the same one.
Yeah.
There are many. Pick one.
I was going to say, I mean, even like I would want to know like Nat Turner, or just like where did you get this courage? What'd you say, Mr. Ben?
Might be scary, but Nat Turner.
Yeah, that might be scary, but I mean, I want to know, like,
What?
Especially going like these are the people that are the first. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they saw somebody else that looked like them
That's
do
right.
this. It's like God for real put this on their heart, and they had to follow it with no blueprint.
Mm.
Mm.
So
I mean,
I would like to
not
know.
saying it was.
I would like to know what gave you the courage.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a man who learned from the
Mm.
Bible that was used to enslave people. The Holy Bible that we hold up today in churches are the same Bible they used to enslave us. He took it. He took it and started a revolution.
But maybe because he actually read it for like himself. You know what I'm saying? And he really received the goodness of the Bible, not the negativity that the enslavers were trying to use through the Bible.
Exactly.
Like, like it's not the Bible, it was the people,
Perfect.
the enslavers using the Bible in a negative way
That's what
to
I'm saying.
oppress people.
That's what I'm saying. And he saw it. And he saw it. And what he did.
So that's a lot to be able to have somebody telling you that this book tells you that you're supposed to be a slave,
Hmm.
but then you able to really interpret, you know, the realness and like light and truth and love that the Bible, you able to pull that out even though somebody putting negativity on you. Like
Yeah.
how'd you come to
How
that?
you do that? How you do that? What truth is that coming through? Seeing that and being able to use it so that they think you're doing one thing and then you are doing another.
There's another guy I'm thinking of right now who's not in this series, but knew Frederick Douglass. I'm thinking about John Brown.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just divinely inspired. Yeah, I'm just thinking about like Robert Smalls was a dude. It's like there's so many of these folks here.
Harriet Tubman, Warner Smith. I mean,
Mm.
come on.
Yeah, yeah. I'm wondering. Before we started recording, you were like, "Hey, this. We started on this show several years ago. The producing of this show, reading scripts, making the show before it finally hit the air this year." Are there moments in the production of The Gray House that have stayed with you in the years since you began the process of making the show?
Moments of filming that stayed with
Yeah,
me.
moments of filming, moments of like not like on set, if they're moments of discovery, like what stayed with you in telling this
Oh,
story of The Gray House?
Yeah, I feel like I'm almost like a whole different person since filming it. Not only that it's 3 years ago, but because this was my first time as a lead actress, so it was very much a milestone for me. So the journey that Mary Jane was kind of going through, I kind of felt like I went through it with her, and I, got to the other side of it. Because when I'm a auditioning actress. Like I audition. No one comes and offers me roles. And so you don't know if you're going to get these things. You just do your best work and you put it out there. And then to finally get to the booking and me going to the producers, because they had some other girls that everybody probably know their names that they could have hired instead of me. So now I'm in the underdog. I'm the underdog in the thing. I have to prove myself. And luckily it was nothing as bad as what Mary Jane went through, but I still, I had to prove myself. I had to be diplomatic. I had to be smart. I was in like a foreign land. It was just so many parallels. And after that, I'm like, wow, if I can do that, dang, maybe I've been underestimating myself. So it's just kind of like a rebirth era for me and my confidence and where I want to go with my life. And I couldn't imagine how Mary Jane felt at the end when she caught the train with Jericho, and then I see how she would go and open schools and do things, because after you accomplish something like that, it kind of gives you the courage to do other things.
You did it well.
Thank you.
I'd watch her, and you carry a little books, making little notes. There you go, Sean.
Yes. Well, because one thing is Mary Jane is known for her photographic memory. And me personally, I do not have photographic memory. I actually feel like my memory is not that great. The more I practice acting, my memory gets better. But I wasn't an actor. Oh, I just pick up the script, read it. Oh, I know it. Let's go. No, that's not me. So that gave like I had to have a lot of courage to be able to perform in front of these veterans, in front of Morgan Freeman's partner. And so it just really taught me a lot about myself, about what I was really able to achieve.
Ben, what about you? What do you take from this series now?
It's so interesting that it took Leslie and everyone uh, this time to bring it out when it happened. The country was going through what it's going through. You know, I've been in this battle for a while, so it gave me new ammunition. Having done Chicken George, who took his family to liberation, now working as the conductor to free people and watching the world as it is today, I feel like I need to be a conductor again because people need to be freed. It's not over. It's gotten worse. So I've I'm tightening my skills, picking up my mantle again.
Ben, what do we do moving forward? I know exactly what you're referring to. These fights that we're in right now, this world that we're in right now, where it's like there's so much animosity, so much chaos, there's so much fights over history and over these stories that make us uncomfortable.
Well, maybe we need to be uncomfortable and get comfortable with the uncomfortableness because that's where our growth is. That's where it lies, not in the open-eyed lies that are being thrown at us daily, but it's in the wallowing of the pain that we begin to grow and birth a new nation, a new world. We're not finished yet. There's so much more to be done, and we can't be fooled by the glitz or the greed. You must stay rooted in the soil, because that's what God is. Call it God, Allah, Buddha, Jesus. The spiritual aspect of all humanity is in the soil, and we are of the soil.
And with this, Ben, you spent years, you spent the last three years making the show, waiting for it to come out, spending your time with the Gray House. Now that it's out, what happens next for you guys? Amethyst, you're auditioning? Like, what comes next for you?
Whatever the good Lord brings. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm still auditioning, and I feel like, people are calling me and telling me that they're seeing the Gray House. And I think as it ramps up and more people see it, hopefully it'll bring more opportunities. But I'm not limiting myself. I'm always open. I'm open to collaborating with people and working in all different places. So.
Ben, what about you? What comes next?
Like Amethyst said, whatever the good Lord puts on the table. I have a few projects I'm working on right now. They're getting ready to celebrate my 80th birthday. In a concert in New Jersey, and doing some with the Actors Fund community, and working on a new play for myself that I've been touring around with since Grey House, trying to continue to tell our stories. And there's so much richness there, and there's a lot of things coming down the pike I can't talk about right now, but I'm just sort of right now I'm in recovery. The human body has its ills, so let's take time to recover, and then from there I'll go. In the meantime, I'm writing, a couple of books.
I was thinking about you last night, Ben. I was watching the Tonys, I was like, getting excited about about getting to talk to both of you guys this morning,
Yes.
getting up and getting my
Brother
coffee in my
Vereen,
system.
enjoy, my little girl. Yeah.
And Amethyst, I've become like a devout follower of your Instagram, which is just it's fun. So getting to see you both on screen telling these stories has been, for me, and just getting like a little sense of what it's like to make this series. Like I said, getting to talk to Les and Lori and Ro, and obviously Christy as well, who I adore, right? About your performances, and then getting to talk to you guys today about this series, about the history of the struggle of overcoming all of this. This has been just a real delight. It was the thing I was looking forward to most, like this month. So I can't thank you both enough for taking the time to come in here and talk to me this morning. So thank you guys both.
Oh, thank you, Jason. Thank you for allowing us to spread the word and getting the word out there about these stories, about the importance of our ancestors, not only Black American ancestors, Black American. I laugh when everybody say that because as Whoopi Goldberg would say, I've been colored, I've been Negro, I've been Black. Now I'm African American. People, I'm Brooklyn. As Mary J said, I'm an American.
I'm an American.
I
American.
love it.
So let us continue to hold up the flag of America, land of the free for all people. It breaks my heart what's going on in my country right now. It breaks my heart. To see the division, to see troops trying to push us back to a period when we were not equal. To see women still struggling for their rights. Not on my watch. You will not push us back. So thank you for allowing us to have a voice.
Yes, thank you so much for having us on and inviting me too, because you could just deal this with Ben.
No way. I wanted you on here. Amethyst, your performance is so good. Oh my gosh. Thank you both for coming on to talk to me. As a historian, I get to tell stories, right? But you guys are so much more effective in telling these stories than like any of my colleagues will ever be. And I think that's the importance of the arts and the humanities coming together to talk about our past, right? So getting to see you guys on screen and then talk to you today has just been a blast.
Jason, tell me something.
Yes, sir.
What made you interested in history?
Oh, I'll tell you this. So I went to school at Murray State University, my hometown in Kentucky, right? When I was like 18, 19 years old. And I flunked out twice, right? And then I went back to college when I was 31 or something like that. I went to community college, right? And I was just going to go get my degree and go back to work. And then along the way, I just fell in love with the stories of our past. And what kept coming into my head then was this, right? Coming up from Kentucky and Louisiana and Tennessee, like there's this kinship with the land, right? With like, if I ask you who you are, the first thing you're going to do is tell me where you're from, right? Amethyst and I were talking. She's like, oh, I'm from South Carolina, like early on, right? Because the land informs you. And all I wanted to know, Ben, was this a single question: who loved this place before I did? That was it. When you're from Kentucky and Louisiana and Tennessee, and you grow up playing and poor, we were like, just my mom was a high school dropout, right? Like we were just poor growing up. And I just wanted to know, like, who loved Kentucky Lake, who loved catching catfish in that lake before I did, and all of these things. That was it. I just want to know the people. That's and I don't like and like so. Today I'm going to go out later. I guess I'll make it on pause. Like later on today, I've got some Comanche tribal members coming into Colorado that we're going to go camping with. I'm bringing all their teenagers out to go camping here in Colorado. That's the stories I'm interested in. Oh, it's cool. I'll send some pics over to Kabara. She can send to you.
And, I do believe that we're all sent to this planet. Our spirits inhabit a body. Our spirits know the direction in which it's going. Our humanness does not know. It just goes along for the ride. And the calls us various places, calls Amethyst to Romania. She was in high school, she'd be in Romania doing this fabulous role on a great job. You know that you'd be sitting here talking to us today. You're calling. Now you're going to talk to your Indians to bring out their story. Thank you for following your call.
Thank you. I have to tell you one last thing, Ben, before we go,
Yes.
which was when we started to do this podcast, my ex-wife is a giant fan of yours. So I've been able to brag to her
Thank her for me, please.
about you. Oh, she and I tease. I was like, guess what I'm doing? And she's like, I already know. So thank you for everything that the both of you are doing to tell these stories. I needed the smile today, because you're absolutely right. We're in for a fight right now.
Yes.
And this morning was a smile for me. So it was good.
We can say we're in for a fight, or we can say we're in for the victory.
Yeah.
My words have power. I'm not going to fight you. I'm going to be victorious. I'm going to love you.
I love it. That's the perfect place to leave this. Guys, thank you both so much for coming in and taking the time. I really can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Y'all take care.
And that's a wrap here at Reckoning with Jason Herbert. Thank you so much to Ben Vereen and Amethyst Davis for coming in and talking today. Thank you to our producer, Fletcher Powell, for making this show run. And thank you to all of you for continuing to support this episode. You can find us on Substack at jasonherbert.substack.com or find this podcast wherever you listen. So thanks for being here and being part of this community. We'll catch you later. Ciao for now. Bye.